Dear viewers and the subscribers to our channels, welcome to our presentation today. Our presentation today is on a research. And actually we want to focus on a research for academic award, which is a requirement for students in higher learning institution to fulfill in order to get an academic award at undergraduate or postgraduate level. And this is very important because that is where we build the capacity of the future researchers, because without the learning there is no next for knowledge generation. When it comes to research, which is a scientific process of gathering information by using scientific method in order to explain, describe, or explore any phenomena, social phenomena happening in the society. The same research is used also for natural scientists in the natural science, when they have to explore, explain, and describe any natural phenomena. And for social sciences, research evokes to area sociologists or social scientists. One is Auguste Comte, who was a French sociologist, who is believed to be the founder and the father of sociology. Comte believed that to understand the society and any social phenomena happening in the society, sociologists or there must be an application of scientific method in order to understand anything in the society or any phenomena in the society. And based on that, the findings and the advancement of Auguste Comte, then we get another sociologist, Charles Wright Mills. Charles Wright Mills is an American sociologist who is remembered for many things, but for developing the 5 promises of sociology. And he said the role of sociology, the promises of sociology, enlisted the 5 promises. One is enlightening the public, that making the public aware of whatever is happening in the public, and in our case, any social phenomena. 2, challenging the public perceptions. 3, identifying social problems. 4, designing solutions to the identified social problem. And 5, sociological imagination. By sociological imaginations, Charles Wright Mills was actually referring to the objectivity, that any sociologist have to acquire the sociological imaginations which make him a human being plus. So you become more than a human being by acquiring scientific method. And this is where Comte and the C.W. Mills merge. Comte said we should use a scientific method. And Charles Wright Mills think we should use sociological imaginations, which means by being objective And you can be objective as opposed to subjective by acquiring and using scientific method. So by standing on a committed CW means, then the sociologist goes to a new dimension, where one, they have to start thinking like sociologists, and they start thinking like researchers. So what is research? Research, that brings us to the question, what is research? That is an empirical question, okay? An empirical question is answered by an empirical answer. And an empirical answer is based on evidence. So the purpose of research is knowledge. To use the body of knowledge to develop knowledge, or build knowledge, expand knowledge, or enrich knowledge. So anything which does not end up with either creating knowledge, or expanding knowledge, or enriching knowledge, that is not scientific research. And we remember, for those in Tanzania who happen to go the system of Tanzania, the education is academic system in Tanzania, we remember, I think it's not a difference, it is universal. In the primary and the secondary stage of education, we are asked to conduct projects where we could go out and write, gather information to describe anything which was happening, whether in the factory, to see how soft drinks or beer were brewed. Okay, so you just go write and record it. So that does not end up with a generation of knowledge. So it was not a research. But in a tertiary or high learning institution, people are given a project, okay? But because it has got something to do with the generation of knowledge, or building of knowledge, or expanding knowledge, or enriching knowledge, then that is research. And as we go along the academic path, we could see that at the undergraduate, I think it's something like testing the theory to see what is happening by applying the theory that you might have. But at the postgraduate, then you try to establish, you create new knowledge, okay, at the PhD level, and then beyond that, then you build theories. So we could see how research is related to knowledge as opposed to the other things that we are doing. But that is not only the research we are doing. Suppose someone wants to go and buy, he wants to buy a television set. Of course, he is also doing some research. He's asking someone, where can I get the cheapest and the best television set? And then he will be told, you go somewhere. If there's someone he wants to do anything, then he can do the research, which is only limited to get information where the things he wants can be obtained, or the service he wants can be, he wants can be obtained. But as long as that is not related to generation, building, expanding, and enrichment of knowledge, then that cannot, and it doesn't use a scientific method, then that cannot be qualified to be a research. Now, in normally, when I was doing my undergraduate, I was asked by my lecturer to get a title for my research. And that is still a puzzle to me today. How can I get that title? Where can I get it? In the how can I develop? Why should I start with the title? That's the question I'm asking now, because by then I was not aware of what was happening. But now I'm starting to question, how can I start with a title? Because a title is a name given it to. Let's take an example. How can you get a name for a child which is not born? Of course, you could have an idea what you want to do, what you want to name your child, but if it's not there yet, then you keep that to yourself. So the research is actually an interplay of observation plus empirical plus theories. And I want to repeat and emphasize on that. That research, which is meant to create, develop, build, expand, and enrich knowledge, is an interplay of observations, empirical, and theories. Now, we know in sociology, we have got the basic perspective, the basic three theories. That is conflict, functionalism, and the symbolic interactionalism. But now there are other theories which are whatever that comes in is going to fall under those areas, the three basics. On the other hand, we have the levels. We have the macro, the bigger picture, and the micro, the narrow picture. So, but what is observations? When we say observation, I think we are actually referring to sensory. Sensory. And we know we have got 5 senses. Ears for listening, eyes for seeing, nose for smelling, tongue for tasting, and the skin for feeling. Just makes 5. So when we say observation, that involves the use of sensory organ. That's what a human being has. But based on, but at that point, you are not a scientific yet. You become scientific when you combine sensory with the empirical and the theories. So here we bring in sociological imaginations. Now, but in the course of our ordinary life, in the course of our living, we see, based on our sensory organs, we hear, listen to, we see a lot of things happening in the society. But by seeing them, we just only get informations, which are not necessary facts. Now, if we wanted to go to facts, then we have to go beyond the sensory observations. But sometimes we are not only observing, we are also we are participant observers in what is happening in our society. But when we say it's an interplay of observation, which you say is sensory, then we got an empirical here. Okay? Empirical is something which has evidence. And then we have got theories. And the way, as I have said it before, for sociologists or social scientists, the other scientists, we have got the functionalism, we have got the conflict, and the symbolic interactionalism. So sometimes we use our sensory and see symbols. Sometimes we use our sensory to see conflicts happen. Sometimes we use sensory organs and we see functionalism. But we can do that because, as we said before, we are now thinking like sociologists, and we are thinking like researchers. Now, having seen that, what is the purpose of research, or the type of research? In this, a lot of body of knowledge explain that on the basis of starting to understand a social phenomena, there are three ways. One is to explore, and that try to answer the question why, how, about a social phenomenon. Like we've got the outbreak of corona 2-3 years ago. So there was a question of why the lockdown, and how the lockdown, okay? And what is going to be the impact of those things. Then another reason, okay, or purpose of it is to explain, and that gives us an explanation from the word explain, which deal with causes and the relationship of variables related to any social phenomenon. Then the purpose and another type is a description, which comes from the word it describes. And this is deal with the question what, where, when, and how. And they are very important when you want to draw, when you want to describe the type of research you want to do. And then they are very important when you want to draw, at a time when you want to draw the objective, the purpose, the main objective and the specific objectives, and the related research questions. So it is very important to understand these things. The other way we have got inductive, okay, and deductive. So each one have a purpose, and we said either you wanted to explain a theory or develop a theory. So those are the basic things that are related to any research, not only the research we conduct for academic award. Now, I remember I said, I was asked by my research lecturer to give out the title of what I'm going to research for my academic award. And this is a very challenging question. How can one do that? You can only do that by using your observation, the sensory observations. So by observing, that is a way, a step away from triggering or invoking the scientific thing in you. It hasn't reached the point where it has triggered the use of the scientific and sociological imagination of you. You are still an ordinary person like any other person. So, like they say, if there's any social phenomena, then you have to write about the background. So normally, this is where we start, and this is actually the main purpose of our presentation today. And then I have the view that this is where we should start. I would have preferred my research lecturer to ask me to record my observation, any observation that I have made, okay, which I think in it or out of it, I can identify a researchable problem. I would like to repeat that. I would have preferred my research lecturer to ask me to see if from what I have been observing by using my sensory organs, or by either as an observer or a participant observer, if there is anything which I think is a researchable issue. And when we say, what is a researchable issue? A researchable issue is something which is leery, which is happening, and is affecting people. And it could be, it's affecting people, and for a long time. And here we see a research problem or a social problem, something which is really, which is happening, which is affecting people, and it has been there for a long time. We cannot say after a long downpour, after a heavy rain, there are going to be definitely floods. And this is not actually floods, but it is a lot of accumulation of water, so, okay, which does not necessarily stay there for a long time. So after a while, it just drain off in the drainage. So people, if you tell somebody after 3 hours there was a flood here, say, yeah, what happened? So it must be for a long time. It must be affecting people. It must be happening. It must be real. Now, from here, then you can create the background. And in that background, then you could see if there is something which is qualifying to be a social problem and which qualifies to be researched. And so in the background that we are supposed to write, which is normally depending on the institutions, is on chapter 1 normally. Then you have to explain what you have observed, okay? But sometimes you have to support your observation with non-empirical, the findings of non-empirical literatures. And normally, on non-empirical literatures, we get, let's say, something which is being discussed or reported in the newspapers. Now we've got the bloggers, we've got social networks, where people discuss a lot of social phenomena which is happening in the society. Like say in Tanzania now, people are, not in Tanzania now, in the world now, there are issues of privacy in the social networks. Okay? And that is happening. It is affecting a number of people. And recently, I think it affected one politician in the United States, where it was recorded and it was shared in the internet, where the issues, the communication between that politician and her husband were made public and it made Haru's direction. Okay? In Tanzania, we've got another reporting in social networks where issues of an individual were reported and made public. So we could see, okay, this is important. And there are a lot of things which is happening in the social media and the other forums where anything which is non-empirical can be reported or discussed. But another thing to consider, to include in the background, apart from the record of the observations, okay, the public discourse, what people discusses and share in the public arena, or non-empirical literatures, including newspapers reporting, books, okay, monographies and whatever. Then if you read on those ones, it can give you, an idea and formulating to capture and report your observation in the background. But another very important issue is the issue of police, legal, and institutional frameworks. We know with the modern management of things in the large organization, we have got policies which guides how to go about with any social phenomena. If there is the issue of education, we've got the policy of education. If there is the issue of gender, we've got the policy of gender. And that we've got the legal, the acts, Parliament Act, declarations, and international agreements, okay, which for every international conventions, which try to guide the global community on how to go about anything, any social phenomenon. So then we have got the institution, like if there is an issue concerned with the health, then that goes to WHO. If there is an issue that deal with employment and unemployment and the condition of employment, then you go to ILO. So you could go and say, okay, there is an issue of unemployment, so you go to ILO and see what does ILO say about that. If there is an issue, an outbreak of a pandemic, then you go to WHO. If there is an issue of immigration, then you go to the Immigration Board of International. If there is an issue of human rights, then we've got human rights institutions at international level. That policy, legal, and institutional framework is very important because it gives you the gauge or the benchmark in which to test whether we are doing proper or we are not doing proper. Like in Tanzania a few years ago, there was an issue of expansion of pregnant girls from school. But how was that matching with the policy and the legal and the institutional framework at the global level? Then you could see, okay, what can we do with whether it is fair to expel pregnant girls from school, or to readmit them again, or to do what? Then we go to the policies from the global level to our level here. What does the Tanzania policy say about it? What are if there is any act saying anything about it, and which institutions ensure the compliance of the legal and the policy requirement, and what does it say? So, based on the observations, the record from public discourse, the record from non-empirical literature, newspapers, okay, report about social networks discussions, bloggers discussions, then plus the policy, legal and institutional framework. Then at that position, it can take you to the place where you can start as it creates empirical questions. So then it comes to the question, what does science say about that? Okay, what does science say about women empowerment? What does science say about... So it's that questioning, okay? Now, it gives you the purpose. Now, you have to say, now, I want to see... why, let's say, why, or how, or elder people are treated in Tanzania, okay, if it is in line with the policy, okay, with the policy at the international level, with the policy requirement at the national level, okay? So this is an empirical question which lacks, you cannot answer it because you don't have empirical evidence. So this empirical evidence is what will take you to another stage of developing a research proposal for your academic fulfillment or for academic award. Now, this is very, very, very important. And at that point, you don't have a title yet, or you don't have enough information to shape your title. It could give you just an idea what could be happening, or you could now have an idea, okay, the status of older person in Tanzania. Okay? That you could start building, okay, this is what. So it's based on what you have observed, what people are saying, okay, what you are seeing happening to the older people, against the policy which explain, which demand that older persons should be treated in so and so. And this is dependent on a lot of any social phenomena. It could be older people, it could be girls, it could be vulnerable children, it could be employment, it could be human rights, it could be political participations. But all these will have to be created on the background or against the background, which is created based on a sensory observation, based on the evidence, the public, what is said in the public discourse, what people say is normal, ordinary people says, what is said in people who have decided to write anything about it, but which is not empirical or non-empirical literatures, what is reported in the newspapers. But this is very important, what is said on the policy, legal, and institutional framework pertaining or in relation to any social problem. And I know they are there. So it's just a matter of searching, and searching. The world we have today, there is nothing which doesn't have a policy. We could be missing that policy at the national level, but we could not be missing it on a global level. And that could help explain us to have the background on which to base our research. So, having seen that, after creating the background of your research, okay, based on what you have explained, then after establishing or identifying empirical question, it could be 1 or 2, 3. So this gives you the purpose of going to do research. And not only that, it gives you the background on the stand on which to create the statement of your problem. Okay? So, what is a statement of the problem? Okay. Normally, it depends on the institution. The statement of the problem is part of the background or part of the chapter 1. Okay? But for the purpose of the effectiveness of our presentation, okay, in the introductions, we normally depend on the institution. We have the background, then we have the statement of the problem, then we draw the objective of the problems, and the significance and the rationale. So for the purpose of clarity and the focus, this presentation is going not to cover the statement of the problem. The statement of the problem is going to be in our next presentation. So please follow and keep matching with that. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment on our presentation. Thank you.